Hello, I'm Alfred Lambremont Weber. I'm here to talk and share new concepts about exopolitics and a positive future, evidence for Earth's positive future timelines, DNA activation, and the emergence of Femina Universalis consciousness. We'll cover evidence for Earth's positive timeline, the emergence of Femina Universalis activated DNA consciousness, replacing Homo sapiens as the dominant Earth human consciousness. Femina Universalis is a DNA activated consciousness, not a gender. The positive future equation. The positive future equation is positive future equals positive timeline plus unity consciousness. The positive future equation has supplanted and overcome an outdated, secret chronarchy, time travel, government matrix formula that is based on, quote, I win, you lose duality consciousness and is no longer effective. That was problem plus reaction equals solution. The positive future equation suggests that in the synergy between the positive timeline and unity consciousness, we are one, a critical mass of humanity is collectively and individually activated for some or more actions and policies for a positive future, and synchronistically resources and actors are brought together in a multidimensional universe processes to manifest a desirable result. A key discovery is that one, a critical mass of humanity is two, co-creating a positive future through conscious acknowledgement that three, we are synergistically traveling along a positive timeline, four, in unity consciousness. You can explore more of these ideas and the evidence behind them at positivefuture.info. The omniverse. The omniverse, the universe, the multiverse, and the omniverse. There are three principal cosmological bodies through which humanity comprehends the cosmos: the universe equation and the omniverse hypothesis. The equation expressing the omniverse is omniverse equals multiverse plus spiritual dimensions. That is, omniverse equals the totality of universes in the multiverse plus the spiritual dimensions, that is, the intelligent civilization of souls plus spiritual beings plus source or God. The universe, in the ordinary conventional history, around 3500 to 3200 BC, it was the Sumerian astronomers and cosmologists that codified the concept of our universe in science as a discrete, organic, holographic creation of time, energy, space, and matter, including multiple timelines and an ecology of dimensions. Now, you can find out more and discover more about the omniverse, the multiverse, and the universe at universebooks.com and in my forthcoming book, Universe, Multiverse, Omniverse. Let's look at the evidence for a catastrophic timeline. Dr. Courtney Brown in 2010 predicted a global coastal event for June 2013 and Washington, D.C. being underwater. That was the largest, at the time, remote viewing experiment ever done with military trained remote viewers brought together. You can see that experiment at farsight.org. Similarly, DARPA chrononaut, time traveler, Andrew D. Bishago, reports on a one-time DARPA CIA chronovisor probe that he was part of, where the probe went from 1971 to 2013 and found the US Supreme Court in 2013 under 100 feet of brackish water. So you had a similar finding between Dr. Courtney Brown and his remote viewers that found Washington, D.C. in June of 2013 under 100 feet of brackish water. Obviously, today is September 27th, 2018. Washington, D.C. is not under 100 feet of brackish water. Both Andrew D. Bishago and Dr. Courtney Brown reported after Washington, D.C. and the rest of the planet did not suffer a global coastal event in 2013, that this predicted event probably occurred in another timeline dimension. What Andrew D. Bishago reported was, quote, apparently the probe I was involved in at ITT Defense Communications in Nutley, New Jersey on November 5th, 1971 for the Office of Naval Intelligence took us to an alternate timeline where the devastating effects of such an event in 2012 were evident in 2013, including Washington, D.C. being under 100 feet underwater. So it was an alternate timeline, not one that we're in now. However, there is a false catastrophic timeline. We said that we're in a holographic universe composed of multiple timelines, and the matrix controllers under the chronography, the secret time travel government, or the negative elements thereof, negative dimensional entities and matrix institutions, governmental forms, banks, religions, entities emanating from the Anunnaki occupiers of Earth, appear to be operating from, number one, duality consciousness, I win, you lose, and number two, attempting to create a false catastrophic timeline, manipulate humans into fear, and thus attempting to maintain hegemony over Earth and humans. However, false timelines are just that, false evidence, as we have shown in these in the 2012-2013 results. In 2012 and 2013, Dr. Carl Joseph Kalaman, an expert on Mayan concepts of time, stated, quote, the universal alternate energy waves move end, and Earth is set on a gradual setting of a potential to reach advanced utopian planet status, a virtual Garden of Eden. That is the program that our Earth hologram in our holographic universe is actually set to. The universe singularity, in other words, the portal at the core of our universe, is actually now emanating energy for enlightened unity consciousness. We are one. We are on a positive timeline. Earth will be a utopia and not a dystopia. These are the findings of time science. These universe singularity energy waves serve as carrier waves of the universe's mind and spirit software. The way that the intentional universe, some call it the source, the sea of light, or God, lets us know of its intentions for consciousness in the entire universe. In other words, the more that we humans tune into the universe singularity, or the portal at the core of the universe, the Mayans called it Unabku, not only the portal, the galactic black hole, but the portal at the core of our universe. And our universe is one of 10 to the 7th to the 7th number of universes in the entire multiverse. That's an estimate by two scientists at Stanford. The more we humans are individually and collectively tuned into the universal energy wave of enlightened universal consciousness and committed to achieving unity, non-dualistic consciousness, then the stronger the positive timeline becomes, and the more rapidly we achieve our potential as a planet which has a potential to reach advanced utopian planet status. Now, let's look at some of the science behind this. This is science known in Agartha in the inner earth, and occasionally reaches the surface humans. This was brought to the surface by the Buddhists earlier in the 20th century. This is our dual solar system. Most of the solar systems in our universe have dual stars. This, as you can see, this is a dual solar system that can be depicted when the two stars are farthest away from each other. They're 12,500 years away. It takes about 26,000 years or so for a complete cycle around here, and for the two suns to actually meet at the top. And when the two suns are most separated, that is what we call the Kali Yuga, and that is where the conditions in our hologram are for 1 part virtue and 3 parts sin. And that's when things are really morally most challenging and difficult here on earth. And that's more or less when Jesus of Nazareth incarnated here. That is where one sun was at the top, the other sun was at the bottom here. And Jesus incarnated at about the 25-minute past position was when the Buddha incarnated. We have these large souls coming in to keep things sort of on balance. Basically, the insight that we found in our book, The Omniverse, is that universes are machines for developing souls, like washing machines for souls. We are now at about, not quite at the 20-minute mark of reaching the golden age at the top. We've left the Kali Yuga. Now we're in the Dwapara Yuga, which is 2 parts virtue and 2 parts sin. One of the main challenges that we have on our planet is that we have an invasion and infestation of a sentient artificial intelligence. And that is one of our principal challenges to date. But we're here at about the 25, maybe 22 minutes of, and have about 9,000 years before the two suns meet, and we're in a golden age known as the Satya Yuga. In our surface world, the yin-yang symbol is sort of a hidden sign of the dual sun knowledge, and this is one sun, that's the other sun. Now, if we look at DNA activation and the emergence of Femina Universalis consciousness, I myself experienced it with the UFO ET abductions of Jimmy Carter, Alfred Lambremont Webre, myself, and Andrew Basiago. And this was first presented in July 30th, 2017. And these ET UFO abductions are really a path to a positive future for humanity in our galaxy, and are really a hidden history behind the 1980 October surprise by the shadow government and the deep state. When people are abducted, they're not really, we like to say adducted, that is taken toward the stars, because people who are taken up or taken into other spaces by extraterrestrials, from a multidisciplinary perspective, many of the participants view themselves as developing a multidimensional perspective about their encounters with extraterrestrials. And I'd just like to acknowledge the book, The New Human by Mary Rodwell, who's a very accomplished researcher in this area. And so one of the race that could have abducted President Jimmy Carter, myself, and Andrew D. Basiago, Carter in '69, myself in '73, and Andy Basiago in '75, in a series of coordinated abductions, were the short grays. Another hypothesis were the members of the Galactic Governance Council, and those are the Pleiadians, the Alpha Centaurians, and the Sirians. And other ones could have been ethical interdimensional ETs that now are involved with many of the hybrids, they call themselves, who are here now to assist in the ascension of humanity. Now, the ethical ETs abduction of Jimmy Carter, Alfred Webre, and Andy Basiago, the purposes of these were to coordinate the 1976 election of President Jimmy Carter as an ET disclosure president, to coordinate the 1977 Carter White House ET study, of which Alfred would become director. And in the long run, the Carter, Basiago, and Webre ET abductions may have been about the coordination of Jimmy Carter's election as an ET disclosure president, and about Andy Basiago's possible future election as an ET disclosure president, where Basiago, in a prior timeline, had been pre-identified by DARPA CIA time travel as a possible future president. This was back in '69 to '75. This is some of our work of my colleague John Kelly, who independently did reverse speech on Carter and found that indeed he was an ET abductee. This is where my preliminary meetings with the Carter White House and the 1977 Carter White House extraterrestrial communication study, when I met with the Carter White House domestic staff, while I was a futurist at Stanford Research Institute. I met with them in 1977. In the fall of 1977, I met with them in the executive office building. And this is Andy Basiago, who was a US presidential candidate in 1976. And the ETs that abducted Carter, myself, and Andy abducted Andy, and Andy was a witness to my abduction, and he says, quote, "I can also say that in one abduction, I remember that Alfred was in, I'm 100% sure that it was him. He was standing in a metal cylinder inside the ship, as it was as if I was being given the opportunity to be able to later confirm his status." And speaking as to when the CIA betrayed Carter in 1978 and backed Reagan, and for me, in Andy Basiago, when we're now examining the ET abductions, he says, for me, this solves a longstanding mystery as to why the CIA betrayed Carter in 1978 and backed Reagan for president. There is now the real possibility that they did so because they discovered that Carter was an abductee, namely, and so the CIA went over to the draconian side, which was the Bushes, George H.W. Bush, a reptilian soul, and took Reagan with him. He was later to try and assassinate Reagan, and they went over and prevailed with the Iranians to withhold the hostages and thereby defeat Carter. And the Carter administration had a whole mandate with the positive ETs, and instead it was the reptilian ETs and their human counterparts, the Bushes, that came into power. And if the let me see this, if the this slide is a little messed up, but the point there is that if the Carter White House extraterrestrial communication study had gone forward, it is quite possible that the secret treaties, the US secret treaties, the Greada treaties and others that have set up the US as a satrap, as essentially a slave of the reptilians, would have been abrogated. The Chronarchy, secret DARPA, CIA time travel government had pre-identified Trump as the US president. Viet News Inside Out published that prior to the 2016 election. You can go to our news page there. And we have published a petition requesting that the current president, Donald J. Trump, abrogate the secret Greada and Tau 9 treaties and end the pedocriminal matrix on Earth, because it is the secret treaties between the US government, the 1933 treaty that Franklin Delano Roosevelt signed, the 48 treaty that Harry S. Truman signed, the 54 treaty that Eisenhower signed, and the Tau 9 treaty that George W. Bush signed, that have placed the US and essentially given it its 175 military bases. They said, okay, you run the planet for the Dracos, but you have to deliver quotas of baby meat. We have military whistleblowers that at US Air Force bases, US military bases, there are pallets full of cans of human baby meat that are delivered on schedule to the Dracos for consumption. Under the treaties, there are live human infants delivered for sacrifice and for consumption. There are humans that are delivered for consumption, human body parts. There are humans that are delivered for slave labor in the solar system and beyond for the trade, the Draco slave trade, and as sex slaves and on the planet. And this can be ended if the current POTUS, Trump, keeps his repeated promises to deal with child sex trafficking and other abuses of children that he has made. Now, Gary Peter Carlson, one of our analysts, states that Trump himself has a reptilian soul, or that not a Draco soul. So let's see who even honored this. Laura Eisenhower, the great-granddaughter of President Dwight Eisenhower, who signed the Greada Treaty, has offered to go into the Oval Office with a petition that is online, that has been signed by a sizable number of people, to abrogate the secret Greada Treaty and other treaties with the reptilians and end this trade. Now, let's talk about the emergence of Femina Universalis consciousness, which is really what the positive future is predicated upon. And that is the activation of human DNA, probably only 4 to 5%, if that, of our DNA is now active. And with the activation of what's normally called junk DNA, more of our consciousness can be activated, and what I like to call Femina Universalis, sort of the receptive, divine, feminine side of our nature. Every human being, no matter what their gender is in their physical body, they have a male and a female principle. These are principles around which the human soul, the human psyche, and the gender of the human body are built. What a book by author Kendra Jonas and contactee Kendra Jonas, who has had very much an experience that's very much like mine, and Andy Bashagos, a book called The Link that you can obtain at kendrajonas.com, has come with the discovery of 7 insights or principles that activate one's DNA to activate the femina, or the divine feminine consciousness that will access our entry into the new earth. So it turns out that the new earth is inside. It's really amazing stuff. So it will be revealed that I am consciousness. In other words, divine consciousness. In other words, the new earth is not separate, eternal, or something that is found only in God or within an external being. every living thing has the same capabilities, wisdom, and knowledge within itself. And that is an exact replication of the Creator. And this was one of the scientific findings that we actually found in our book, The Omniverse. And that is the holographic nature of Source and the holographic nature of the human soul. That is, Source, you can think of Source as a sea of light, and the human soul as an egg of light, or a sea of light, and ourselves as a drop of water or of light, of that sea of light. And the principle of a hologram is that every particle or every fragment of the hologram contains the whole of that hologram. So Kendra Jonas writes that, why was she chosen as an emissary? Well, she said that she is one of them, but during this lifetime, she received various vibrational upgrades so that she could receive the higher vibrational frequencies to be able to perceive and relay the information. And do you think that full disclosure will come with full disclosure or extraterrestrial contact with all of humanity will come in the future? Yes, but it's not going to be suddenly. It's going to be as humanity comes into the Femina Universalis, or the receptive consciousness, the advanced consciousness. And so as humanity becomes evolved collectively in this new consciousness, more information will filter through to humanity. And this is really lost consciousness that is now being brought up. It turns out that if you go to the old myths, like the Garden of Eden, which was before the last Atlantean war between Atlantis and Mu, in Atlantis were the humans and in Mu were the reptilians. Mu was in Zealandia, which is a continent under New Zealand. It's now been discovered and called Zealandia. Atlantis was more in the Atlantic and also part of Africa, etc. And Zealandia sank. So we have gone down to third density, and now we're beginning to access more of our consciousness. And that's the process of ascension, really. So we talked about the junk DNA, and the key to unlocking our DNA ignites the ascension process. In other words, coming into these 7 vibrations, which is, I am whole, I am infinite, I am multidimensional, I am love, I am pure energy, I am creative, I am not the ego. Each of those realizations activates more of our DNA, which makes us self-realize more of the divinity within us and more of that divine holographic nature that we have. And therefore, we come out of the duality consciousness of I win, you lose, and more into we are one, and we create more of heaven on earth. That apparently is the ascension process. You are more conscious energy. This means that you are essentially a being of energy that can never be contained, confined, or destroyed. You are infinite and eternal. You are one with this energy because your consciousness and core existence is actually formless and energetic. These are scientific facts. And this is your DNA that is now being activated to be this. You are whole, you are one. The Anunnaki occupation, which created religions, government, and money as control tools, have led us to believe that we are less than, quote, gods, the ones who created us, when in fact we are a mirrored replica of our creator. In other words, we are, through the principle of the hologram, where the whole of the hologram exists in every part of the hologram, there is one consciousness and one intelligence that exists at the core of all living things. That is the I am presence. You are not the ego. During this last period of history, which has been dominated again by government, religions, and money to create war, disease, crime, and poverty, many of us have not been encouraged to listen to our intuition and follow our heart. Yet, once we do this, we'll be able to access a deeper wisdom of knowing who we are and what our life's purpose is all about. This critical and destructive voice of the ego has been the dominant voice inside our head, and it drowns out the sound of God's voice within us. You are multidimensional, existing in everything, everywhere at the same time. The more that our inner energetic frequency vibrates faster, when your thoughts, our energetic frequency will vibrate faster when our thoughts and feelings are positive, and will vibrate slower when our thoughts and feelings are negative. The faster our consciousness is vibrating, the more familiar you will be with the multidimensional, because the more that we as multidimensional beings will actually permeate the multidimensional reality of which we are a part. You are timeless, infinite, and eternal. The only real time is non-time. And when you are in this space, this is where you will find the real part of you that is infinite. This is more crossing out of third time-space density into fourth and fifth density, which is outside of time, and timeless, infinite, and eternal, which is the new earth. You are creative. It is time to let go of limiting beliefs you have about yourself and about the nature of the universe, so that you can enter the zone of creative abundance, which knows no boundaries. Once you have set yourself free from limitations, you can experience life as it were a sea filled with endless possibilities and with exciting new opportunities. You are expressing your creativity all the time. So it is important to become fully aware of how you are expressing your creative potential. You are love. This is again how our DNA is being activated by accessing ourselves being heart-centered, where all communication will flow to and from the heart. You can receive information from a higher mind because that is the only mind that influences the heart. You will also transmit information to others in the same way because your highest truth will also always come from the heart. The key to connecting to higher universal consciousness is to release any expectations about how you think you should receive information. Answers can come in an infinite number of ways. We only need to stay open and willing to tap into this greater knowledge base, and we find that the universe is in constant communication with us. The more aware we are of all the ways we can uncover information, the more information we can extract from the universe. I am pure consciousness. I am whole. I am one. I am not my ego. I am multidimensional. I am tireless, infinite, and eternal. I am creative and expansive. This is what is true holographically because holographically I am source. So, Kendra asks, do you have any insights about humanity? And what came back, there is no doubt that humanity has been on a path of destruction and will continue along this same path if we don't change our ways. No one is going to rescue us from the choices we are making in our daily lives. However, we can learn new skills and discover new ways of thinking that will align us along the path of ascension. We can remember the ancient wisdom we have lost. The only way that more evolved beings can help us is that we must be open and willing to learn and embrace the teachings they are here to deliver. Nothing is going to be shoved down our throat and forced upon us. We have free will, and it is up to us to take hold of the information and integrate it into our lives. It is up to us to heal the wounds within us before any wounds can heal in the outside world. So this is about inner ascension. We have been given the tools, and humanity must decide what will be done with these tools. And this just brings us to positivefuture.info, which I commend you all to visit. This contains a lot. This is a page, a website that has a lot of references and links to the evidence and the proof that we are on a positive future, and also some of the policies that in the transition that we're moving now toward creating a paradise here on Earth, in truth and disclosure, in new energy, teleportation, and time travel. For example, planetary teleportation is one of the necessary infrastructure changes for us to join universe society as a life-bearing planet. And the chronography has been shielding that from us and created the breakaway civilization because it's under the control of a particular fraction. Let's call it the Rothschild fraction. You know, we can change all of that. Secure recognition of animals as sentient beings with rights. We have food replicators that can replicate steak dinners if that's what you want. Secure online democracy at the local, regional, national, and global level. So we can implement the Swiss canton model village democracy. You know, they did away with all the city councils, parliaments, etc., because we can do that all now with secure, direct democracy. We don't need the intermediaries because they always get control. The parliaments get control, the city councils get control, you know, and we can have the citizenry vote directly on laws at the local level, at the regional level, at the national level, at the international level. The reinvention of money. We're on a planet where they have money, and the only reason that we have that is because the Anunnaki brought an Orion control tool here. Oh yeah, big deal. Reinvention of money is a human right and a public utility like air, water, and electricity, available for creative investment at public money utilities. Let's have some of that. Social guarantees in the form of an annual income, healthcare, and elementary, secondary, and post-secondary education for every person on the planet for life. Universes are machines for soul development. World debt forgiveness. I mean, the Federal Reserve was just a false flag that the Zionist bankers pulled on the United States with the bank panic of 1908. And, you know, they had Woodrow Wilson in their pocket, big deal. Disenfranchisement of the state powers of monarchies and religions worldwide. Criminalization of the war industry. War is a racket. War is an industry. It's the end of war. World ban on 5G, anti-personnel, neuro-electromagnetic, direct energy weapons, and mind control technologies. Criminal prosecution and conviction of war crimes racketeering organization, and restorative justice for war crimes. That's kind of clearing up the past and setting up an infrastructure for a paradise planet. For the future, you can check into our news and information blog at omniversity.info, our new education, online education environment that is launching in the fall, winter of 2018-2019, a portal to the Omniverse with classes, courses, seminars, workshops. And you can contact us at ExoPolitics at exopolitics.com. And keep an eye out for our new book coming soon at universebooks.com. Universe, Multiverse, Omniverse. Thank you very much. I'm Alfred Lambremont Webre, wishing you a wonderful day, week, and life. Thank you.